This smug CBS host, Major Garrett, thinks he's real slick and smooth even when he tries to stab at Trump's EPA guy. But thankfully, Lee Zeldin is not having it, and even if he gives a little too long of answers sometimes, he knows what he's talking about and he gets a little feisty at Major Garrett and the whole media as a whole, especially at the end. It's SeanDaniel here, and get ready to be irritated throughout the video because Major Garrett starts fudging and fidgeting like he's almost self-conscious, or he's getting hyped because he's going to ask these good, fiery questions. Just watch his hands, how much he's not comfortable. It's really weird.
Speaking of those men and women, Mr. Administrator, there was a memo from the head of the OMB, Russ Vought, calling for a 65% reduction in the workforce at EPA. How can it do the things you just described with 65% fewer people?
Well, the 65% number that I've been speaking about consistently is that in 2024, the amount of money that was obligated and spent at EPA was over $60 billion. And when I came into this position in January, I had pledged that from year to year, from 2024 to 2025, that number would be down over 65%. It is important for us to be good stewards of tax dollars. We have found real estate consolidations, money to be saved with regards to grants, with media subscriptions, and the list goes on where billions of dollars have been saved. And it's also important for me, whether it is today, it's next month, next year, whenever appearing before Congress, the media, the American public, that I'm able to answer for all of the money spent at EPA and about us implementing and executing what is a 0%, a zero tolerance policy towards any waste and abuse. I want to make sure that the agency is operating as efficiently as possible. And that is why I have often spoken about 65%. And as I have and continue to, what we have been focused on is that year-over-year savings, which we will continue to pursue savings wherever we can. If someone comes to it and they have an idea and they want to save $10,000 or $100,000 or $1 million or $1 billion, there's no number that's too large or too small to have that conversation and to pursue that efficiency. I believe that we owe that to the taxpayer.
Speaking of statutory language, which you've just indicated to my audience you're very sensitive to, you announced recently the shuttering of your research division, known as the Office of Research and Development. The Senate Appropriations Committee, which includes, among other members, Senator Shelley Moore Capito of West Virginia, who championed your nomination, and the committee itself voted 26-2 on a spending bill for you to stop this, saying, quote, it was appalled by closing the office and that doing so would further the loss of expert scientists. Are you going to comply with that statutory suggestion?
Well, a couple things. First off, the vote wasn't specifically, on just the line that you just shared. It was an appropriations bill.
It's a big bill, I agree.
With regards to multiple agencies and appropriations and. Yeah, no, I'm sure. I'm just saying there wasn't a vote just on this line and this language. So that's an important point in context. The other thing that I would add is this: as part of our reorganization, we have been advancing and ramping up the scientific work inside of all different kinds of offices. For example, when I just spoke to you about the pesticide review and the new chemicals review, we have been adding scientists into the chemicals office. I was just talking about advancing cooperative federalism. We're adding an office of state air partnerships inside the Office of Air and Radiation. We're creating a new office of applied sciences and environmental solutions, and a whole bunch of different program offices. I just referenced some, the Office of Water, the Office of Land and Emergency Management. We have a whole bunch of offices where ranks are filled up with amazing scientists, and that's all on top of the new ramp up, the new increase, as well as the additional office, the new Office of Applied Science and Environmental Solutions. So
this is why I can't stand Major Garrett on CBS. He tries to act like he's a centrist, and he's not biased at all. But Lee Zeldin, catches him on his little angle he tries to put with this question that everyone put this vote in just on the EPA. No, it was a part of a massive bill, man. And why does he always sit here and scratch his head before he asks a question. It's like he thinks he's going to get a good question in there, but he's maybe a little timid, or that's his little tick. What's going on with the head scratches? He does this before every question. He reads it. Oh, yeah. Does he think he's got some smooth thing coming or something?
Let's talk about endangerment finding. It was a big announcement this week to remove it. You've argued that you can grow the economy and protect the environment, but some of EPA's own regulatory analysis, which cites Energy Department data, suggests very strongly that that will increase the cost and demand for gasoline for American consumers by quite a bit. How do those two things add up?
Yeah, I mean, I'm just not going to go along, and the president won't, and most of the American public with the EV mandates that have come up. That's the assumption that's relied on when those statements are being made, is that we're just going to make Americans switch from gas-powered vehicles to electric vehicles. It's been met with a lot of resistance, even in states like California. We're not just seeing EV mandates at the state level, but it was also done during the last administration. With regards to the amount of regulations that followed the 2009 endangerment finding, which was a finding specifically related to mobile sources, but to follow, we ended up seeing trillions of dollars worth of regulations on mobile sources, on stationary sources, and then that led to the electric vehicle mandate and more. And that's the trajectory that we've been on, where regulations, in some respects, were seeking to strangulate out of existence entire sectors of our economy, and specifically our energy economy. And that is part of the mess that we inherited, that the American public spoke loudly and clearly about as they were talking about their own economic concerns for this country, their desire to be able to afford to heat their home, their desire to be able to both heat their home while also getting the prescription drugs they need and filling up their fridge with the groceries that they need. It's important that we are applying common sense, that we are cognizant of these economic demands, and that wherever possible, when we can protect the environment and grow the economy, that we will choose both.
I'm not putting Lee's full answers in there because he seems to go on and on and on about mundane information sometimes. But get ready now, because Major Garrett over here, the CBS guy, thinks he has such a smooth, good question, that's about to put Lee Zeldin in a corner. But it doesn't.
And how do you toggle between, Mr. Administrator, those economic concerns you vocalized and statistics that existed long before the Biden administration took over the Environmental Protection Agency, showing that environmental regulations save lives and improve health outcomes? How do you balance those two? Because there's plenty of data that suggests with endangerment and other rollbacks, health outcomes may be jeopardized. Lives could be put at risk.
Yeah, so what ended up happening with the endangerment finding in 2009, while some like to very simply fast forward to 2025 and sum up the 2009 endangerment finding as simply as saying that they found that carbon dioxide endangers public health and welfare, that's not what the endangerment finding did. Back in 2009, while focusing on mobile sources, what they said was that carbon dioxide, when mixed with 5 other well-mixed gases, the greenhouse gases, that they contribute to global climate change. They didn't say cause, but they used to contribute. How much? I don't say, but it's just north of 0. We know that much. And then they say that global climate change endangers public health and welfare. Now, here's the problem. After 2009 and the endangerment finding, the Supreme Court weighed in cases like Loper Bright, West Virginia, Michigan, Loper Bright overturning the Chevron doctrine,
Right.
These decisions ruling with the major policy doctrine, that agencies can't be getting creative with statute, in this case, Section 202 of the Clean Air Act, and coming up with all of these many different mental leaps that are not included in statute, and then use that to create trillions of dollars of regulation and to get rid of entire sectors of the economy and put an EV mandate. Here's my message. If Congress wants the EPA to be regulating the heck out of carbon dioxide, well, they could put it inside of law. But even the endangerment finding itself in 2009 never individually studied carbon dioxide as an endangerment to public health and welfare. They had to do all these other mental leaps because they didn't have the science and the data to be able to make a direct connection. The other thing that they did that was different, when I mentioned that they were trying to combat global climate change, that was the approach that they took. The EPA never did that, and Section 202 doesn't address it. What was happening was, in the past, was that they were looking at local and regional impacts of the air pollutants, which many were specified specifically in the statute. But they didn't, again, in 2009, have the data, the science, to be able to make that direct connection. And that's why they changed it up to try to go off of a global climate change angle, which has been in existence now for 16 years. But the Supreme Court has weighed in. Clean Air Act is very clearly worded as it relates to this point. And we are not going to be taking great liberty and being creative and trying to interpret the law however we want it to read, where there might be a vague language or ambiguity. We will take the plain language of the statute, and if Congress wants us to interpret the statute any way other than the reading of the statute, then they should amend the statute.
Did you see Major Garrett's face when he started getting cooked? He's like, dang. Lee Zeldin knows his stuff, man. I couldn't follow all of it, but some of it I could. That the question Major Garrett was basically asking him did not have any logical basis, but sounded just like he was the mouthpiece of some of these organizations and super green parties that want a lot more restrictions and other things put in place. And the worst thing about Major Garrett right here is he never has the balls to re-ask a question that he just got cooked on or to re-push his point. He just sits there. It's like the worst interviewer I've ever seen. He sits and asks a question. The guy gives a full answer, and then he does not even push back or dig more deeper. It's just like he sits there. He literally sits there and reads a list of questions. I don't know how this guy has a job on a major CBS news network, even though he got demoted to a small show. Like, what is the journalism here? What is the TV show host skills being put in place? Now, have I ever been in a studio? Have I ever had this massive responsibility of having a real show once a week from a network? No. But you'd think with all the experience he's had as a reporter and a journalist, you think he could do more than just read a list of questions, but maybe give some more insight or push back a little bit after the guest answers his question. But no, he sits there like this. And now he's going to follow up with just a random another question, not even push back at all. Like, what is this guy's deal?
Before I let you go, the Energy Secretary Chris Wright wrote in The Economist recently that climate change is a byproduct of progress, not an existential crisis. Do you agree?
Well, I'm not familiar with that particular statement, although I've had plenty of conversations with the Energy Secretary about all of these different topics. And the Department of Energy is also, this week they announced, putting out to public comment a scientific research analysis on this topic where people can weigh in during the public comment period with their own opinion. As it relates to climate change, there were assumptions that were made in 2009 that actually proved to not be true come to 2025. There were some pessimistic views. There was a decision to make in 2009. Do we go with a pessimistic view for climate change? Do we go with a more optimistic view? And here's the good news. Some of the pessimistic views that were relied upon in the 2009 endangerment finding, fast forward to 2025, didn't actually pan out to be true. So what we can do now is have a conversation, hopefully an honest conversation, where we are relying on 2025 facts as opposed to 2009 assumptions, especially the assumptions that didn't play out to be true. And the last thing I'll say is this. There are some networks, there are some media outlets out there that took this week's announcement that I made, which is with regards to greenhouse gas emissions on mobile sources, and they can't help themselves but to put pictures of stationary sources, of power plants, and showing smoke coming out of a power plant. And I get why the false, inaccurate imagery is used to try to scare people, But I think it is incumbent upon all of us, wherever we fall on any of these major issues, is that we're honest with the American public. What we're talking about here are greenhouse gas emissions from mobile sources. That's the proposal that went out to the public. For a 45-day public comment period. This is the first time that there is a public comment period since the endangerment finding was first finalized, and we're encouraging public participation.
And we encourage a continued conversation with you and this program. So we are here. We hope you'll be back to talk
Yes, sir.
more about all of this. Lee Zeldin.
Why would he come back on your show when you don't even engage in a dialogue back and forth with the guy? You literally this is really irritating me. He did this again before with Tom Homan. He just asked a question, and then at the end, he plays politically nice. Well, we hope we have you back on the show, Mr. Homan. We hope we have you back on the show, Mr. Zeldin. When you don't even engage with the guy, you just ask a list of questions, he responds, and then you jump to the next one, At least with the other liberal hosts that we do not like, Caitlin Collins, Jake Tapper, they at least engage with the guest. This guy is literally like a teleprompter reader. And then he plays Mr. Political Nice Guy. Oh, we hope you have you back. Ew! It's Sean Daniel here, and if you want to see Major Garrett over here get destroyed by Tom Homan when he tries to play the same pretentious but nice guy act, check out this video down here, and I hope to see you there.